Good morning. How we doing? Who's got some energy for us this morning?
Rainbows and sunshines, rainbows and
Oh, Martin.
sunshines.
Thank you, Martin, for bringing some energy. Man, the tech side of things, when it goes wrong, it just goes wrong. 2 days in a row here, I am just having some struggles. I don't know, tech issues. But we are here live. I am ready to rock. We have got our friend Katie Sheehan on this morning to bring us some legal advice, which is going to be awesome, I'm sure. But let's get started with an opportunity for you guys to bring something that's happening on one of your deals. What is going on out there? Who's got something unique that you learned, that you want to share, that you're struggling with? What do you guys have? I love the participation this morning. Everybody else is coming with the energy. I love it. Stephen, what do you got?
So I have a mobile home buyer who is not from this country, has a passport only, no social security number, no bank accounts in the US, and came over here apparently with a boatload of cash, wants to buy this mobile home, and we're trying to figure out how to convert that to a cashier's check because obviously banks don't want to convert it unless she has an account. So we're hoping that the seller's attorney is willing to accept US dollars because it's a pretty large sum and kind of going to make or break this deal.
Are you saying you're hoping that they're just going to actually take cash?
Correct.
Yeah. Has anybody done
Because it's
something?
like,
Yeah, let me just
Yep, sorry.
put some feelers out. Has anybody on the call done something like that? Been able to just do straight cash, or is there some other? I've never done that. Is there some other way to convert that where you don't have to? Because I feel like if you're going to put that into a bank account, right? I don't even know that you could deposit that much because it's going to trigger. I think it's like over $10,000. They got to report. It's going to be a trigger. So yeah, who's got a solution for this?
I don't have a solution, but I had somebody try before, and every attorney I know, and Kate can let you know, said, hell to the no. Are you walking in with 45, 50, $60,000 into my office?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't want to take the giant suitcase full of cash.
I have had a couple people try where they say that, but like you just said, Steve, it's such a red flag. Even to put the money into a bank is a red flag. And to be on a passport in America right now is a red flag. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I'd be very careful.
Anybody have any other ideas here on what that client can do?
Do they have a foreign bank account?
I had asked if she could do a wire, and she said she has cash. And I've actually myself, I bought 2 lots of land in Ware, Mass, about a decade ago, and I had 40 grand cash, and I brought it to my attorney, and it wasn't an issue. And I've asked my personal attorney, and they're like, yeah, I mean, it's unorthodox, but it's like buying a car. You can buy a car cash. I bought my last car cash. I went to the bank. I said, the guy wants cash. Of course, they asked me, why are you taking out, so many thousands of dollars out of your bank account? And I told them I'm buying this car, and it wasn't an issue. And obviously, there's a bill of sale with it. So, yeah, I'm not
I'm
sure.
sure that you can do it buyer to seller where they do it off to the side. I just don't know an attorney that's going to do it right now. And obviously, when I tried, it was with houses, like putting down, literally, like Steve said, a suitcase of money, and they didn't allow it. But if they do something between the two of them, but I wouldn't throw your attorney's name out there. Let's just say that.
I see a couple of other hands. Look at Mr. Sharon Srivatsa coming in from social. So Sharon puts in the chat here. Let me just share this up on the screen. I've done this in the past that they set up a U.S. Corp It can be a general partnership. As an LLC takes time. The partnership can set up a bank account and an EIN in one day and then wire into the general account. The GP funds the deal. So that's the general partnership. So he said that's how we did it. So Steve, I don't know if you want to just jot down, I can share that one more time as I know it goes away quick on the screen, but maybe screenshot that and test out that approach. Appreciate you, Sharon. So
With
anybody
that
else?
approach, you just
Go
with
ahead.
that one approach, just make sure you remember that with the LLCs now, they're gonna have to, it's not just a shell LLC or a corp. They're gonna have to require, like, send in all the applications per year for their taxes to show where the money is going and coming from. So at some point, they're going to have to account for where these funds came from, even if you do open an LLC to do the purchase.
All right, so we got what a day to have our attorney on, Mr. Sharon on. This is, it's an interesting one here. So I see a couple other hands. Has somebody else done something? Martin, your hand is up. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, because with the mobile home, you really don't need an attorney. So like Chris said, if they do want to do a side deal, that's going to be, I think, the only way they can do it, because it's just a bill of sale. There's nothing else involved with the mobile home.
Right. So basically, if the seller is willing to just take the cash, Kate, do you see any issues with that? If the seller is just willing to take the cash?
No, because Martin's right. It's essentially just like buying a car. You're going to get the same documentation. It's a bill of sale. It's not going to be, a deed that runs through the title. There's nothing recordable for it. So if you take the attorneys out of the equation and you just have, one neighbor buys their neighbor's mobile home, they can do that for cash out of pocket, no problem.
I do have one more question though, is she going to get park approval? Because most parks,
I was just gonna say
Yep.
that, Martin.
because if they don't have anything, it's like how's that other person get the park approval to buy the mobile home? Because that's part of it as well.
You're talking about where a lot of these parks have the application that you got to fill out?
Correct. Yes.
And
They all do, Steve, like Camden
Right.
Village, I'm selling one in there right now. You have to make a minimum of $2,500 a month for them to even approve you. So, and you have to show it.
yeah, but you
You
have
know
to
what I'm
show it
saying?
if you're paying cash because of what?
Absolutely.
Yep.
The HOA
Yep.
fees?
Yep.
Yep.
Will they
And it's
take
not-
And you need it.
will they
you need a
take
minimum
cash
credit
plus
score.
well, he doesn't have cash reserves in a bank account, or she. Huh. That's interesting as well. So I guess we'd have to talk to the park and see, hey, here's my situation, right? I've got a cash buyer. They're not gonna be able to show, the income for the HOA stuff, but we've got a very strong cash buyer. Maybe even, I don't know if could the bank take some upfront funds? Hey, and I'll even fund the first year of HOA fees upfront or something. Get creative with the park.
In this case, due to the funny situation, Steve Henn did go through park approval first, and the client was accepted into the park. I think another thing on this was the seller's not sure about just taking cash for purposes of it being sourced and them not being able to put it into a bank account for whatever they need to utilize the money from for in the future, right? They can't just walk in with like the $100,000 with it. They don't want to be the ones questioned on where this money came from, basically. So just a couple extra hoops that we're jumping through on this one.
Well, Kate, if this seller was your client, and what would the concern be? Because I've got a bill of sale. That's where this cash came from that I'm about to deposit into my account, right?
If it were me, I would honestly, and probably wouldn't be the popular answer. I would advise the seller that if they want to take this out of the attorney's hands and they want to handle it themselves, that they can take the cash, and with that bill of sale, they'll have reason enough to show why they have this influx of cash that just came in and why they made this massive deposit into their bank account. They don't need to shove it under their mattress and, only buy televisions and things that are under the tax rate for it. But if they still wanted to use an attorney, I personally wouldn't accept it. I would want to verify those funds because I don't want to be a part and party to anything outside that I can't explain. And if I can't explain that these funds were certified funds from a bank or through a wire transfer from a bank, I don't want to be the one who has to say, I checked these numbers individually and I made sure that each number that was listed, it's not forged money, it's all correct. I don't want that responsibility on my end. So that, I mean, it's not the answer anybody wants to hear, but I want to know where the money came from, and I want to know that it's sourced and sent legitimately. But if you've got a motivated seller who's like, no, I trust this, I believe it, and they want to buy it, then that's fine. But then the onus is on them if it comes back and it's forged or it's fraudulent in any way. They have their bill of sale to show how they got it, but it doesn't mean
Well, is there,
that.
because I've never walked into a bank with that kind of money, but
You know?
could we do all of this at a bank? Can a bank verify on the spot the funds? Right? So we go there, hey, these are the funds that are being proposed. Can you verify that these funds are good? Yep, funds are good. This is not counterfeit money. We're good, you know, could we do something like that?
I think you would definitely have to know what bank you're going to. You would have to set up the appointment with the bank. And I honestly don't know if they have a quick way of verifying all of the numbers. Like, I know they have those money counters, they can like stack it in and it just pulls it through. I don't know if that scans the numbers that are on the actual bills, like each dollar bill, $5 bill, $20 bill. I don't know if it scans it at the same time to confirm that it isn't coming back as a duplicate or forged or something like that. So I think you would need to really reach out to the bank first and find out if they have the capability of doing that. I would certainly want to close it at the seller's bank because they're going to give their client the most protection and help them in the best way they can. You don't want to just pick a random bank, but that would be, I mean, you could set it up, and if the bank is willing to verify each of those bills, then you're good. You've got everything you need. You've got a bill of sale, and as long as the, association or the board has approved it that they can come in, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, Chris just put in the chat, are we going to be able to take the funds in for commissions? I think what would have to happen is those funds would have to get verified. They'd have to get put in that, I guess, into the seller's account, and then we'd have to get a check from the seller. So now we've got a check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you would have to do it.
So this is actually another interesting part. I'm glad Chris asked that because buyers pay commission on this deal as well. So funds would come directly from buyer to the broker. So another point to that.
I
So
guess
then
the
the
way,
buyer's going to be paying Steve, and then Steve, you're going to have to make sure that you can certify those funds and make sure that they aren't fraudulent or anything like that. So maybe you want to give your bank a call and make sure that it's something that they can check in advance.
or we restructure so that the purchase includes the commission, right? So the buyer, if we're buying this for
But it-
50,000,
But if you're not using an attorney, you're not going to have all that documentation with the CD and all of that. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just going to be out of hand. So you can restructure it if you want and have all of those agreements lined up in place so that once that lump sum comes in, the seller has to disperse it to whoever, but the buyer is going to be you could get, Stephen could get his commission in advance, because if it's just cash, there's no fiduciary holding the funds. I'm not an escrow agent, so I'm not holding those funds and then dispersing them per the purchase and sale. It doesn't,
right?
if you're going outside of the attorneys, it would just be handled that way.
Seller specifically asked to reduce the amount that they were getting so that the buyer could pay commission. Like this one gets really good.
Okay.
I can chime in on how we work that out. So she can go to the U.S. Post Office and get a check, but they have like a cap on cash to money order. So she can convert that small amount that is she's going to pay for us and our Rovi admin fee. She can convert to cash for us. So she's going to make that out to Real Broker Mass LLC. So we're good on our end. It's just getting that dollar amount. And I structured it because she didn't want to use the attorney and pay an attorney because we don't have to on a mobile home. So she wanted to know exactly down to the penny what she would need to come up with. And I'm like, listen, like, I'm not an attorney. Usually, they'll do that for us. So the way I worked the offer is I put in the offer price and also that the seller was going to pay any notary fees, title fees, all that. So it's just one flat. This is what we're giving you and we're done.
I mean, as
it's-
long as everyone's in agreement, it's an acceptable way to do it.
So
What is the cap that the post office gives, by the way?
They looked into it and she has kind of a translator, interpreter, and they said it was 10,000, which I knew there had to be some cap because
Oh,
we're not
yeah.
going to,
Right. And Brett had just put in the chat here that he was in a situation where he had to be from his business depositing a lot of cash, and he wouldn't know until he was notified by mail if the funds were good. So I don't know, but maybe in a special case there is something that they could do, or maybe some banks can do it. So maybe just Brett's bank couldn't do it. So Steve, at this point, we've got the commissions squared away. But the seller is not willing to just take the pile of cash. Is that where we're at?
we are waiting to verify that. The listing agent said, let me ask if the seller will accept that cash, or the attorney will. So they're supposed to get back to me this morning.
What's
So
the total purchase price?
97,250.
I wonder how many flags it would raise if you went to 9 different post offices to get checks for $10,000 from each.
They'll flag that as
Yep.
expected. They'll
Not
know.
to say I've ever done this before, but there's a couple ways you can go around this. So Walmart also takes, you can get money orders in a lot of convenience stores. So if it's only 96 grand, they'll probably take them 2 or 3 days and they could convert all that into checks. If the buyer takes, if the seller takes the cash to the bank, they're going to do a CTR on them, which is suspicious. I forgot what the CTR stands for, but they're going to need their license. They will not verify the cash. Like whoever said, it will be done. They'll tell you after the fact, because what the bank is going to do is they're going to stamp it and say that cash came from you. So if any of that is at all false money, that's when you're going to know. Just saying.
Yep. And Steve, if push comes to shove, I do know the president of a local credit union. I served on the board for a little bit over there. That I'm happy to reach out, explain the situation, and see what they might be willing to do.
Yeah, my biggest concern, being involved in, representing her is I want to verify. I'd love to meet at a bank, at the seller's bank, preferably, and have them verify the funds are legit, have her deposit. Like Kate said, there's a bill of sale. So she'll be able to say, yeah, I have 97,250 because I just sold my mobile home. Here's the documentation, and we're good. But I'm worried, what if those are counterfeit bills? That would be, something I don't want to be tied to. And that's kind of my concern as a agent, is making sure that my client is, who's to say she didn't receive these funds before she came to the country thinking they're legit and they're not. I don't know the story. It's kind of like staying in my lane. I'm not a cop anymore. I'm trying to stay out of that police mode. It's not my business, what her business is, other than to try to help her purchase this. And so I didn't really, grill her, interrogate her on how she got this money. Because I quite frankly think it's really none of my business, but it's definitely unique.
I would also obviously we don't want to put any more, onus on the buyer, but just for your own protection, that same, rundown to check and see if the banks can check and scan those documents, see if she can get that done in advance. Maybe, use Steve's connection at the credit union and see if they can scan those documents ahead of time before you even get to the closing so they can confirm. And then maybe write something in an addendum saying, funds are being certified. If we know it's going to be 30 days, so to close within 30 days once notification comes in, that way the funds are good, and then you can bring some type of confirmation to your seller and say, hey, we ran these checks through a bank, the bills, we ran all these dollar bills through a bank, and they're checking those numbers and the serial numbers, and they're confirming for us. So it's something else, just another bargaining chip you can bring, but peace of mind to you for your commission as well.
Nicole, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so besides them checking to see if the bills are fraudulent, the CTR and all the stuff that the banks are going to fill out are to check for money laundering, and I don't know how long that takes. So if they check that they're fraudulent, they're not, they go through, the sale goes through, and then if it comes back in a couple months that it was money laundering, not sure what would happen there.
Brett, I don't know if you're in a position to chat. Do you remember how long it would typically take before you'd be notified?
Probably like 2 weeks, and that was through that was Bank of America.
Okay. How long ago was that, Brett?
4 years ago.
Yeah. Just wondering if maybe with some technology, those types of things have gotten
I mean,
sped up a little.
those scanners, they put them in the counters, they put them in there, they'll detect, a couple bills, but it's not guaranteed. They don't put all the faith in the tellers there. So,
Well, Steve, I guess at this point, let's see what the other side comes back with, and then our job on the buy side is what kind of assurance can we give to these sellers to make sure that they feel comfortable accepting these funds. So, if they're not willing to do the deal, reach out to me. I can definitely reach out to the president of the local credit union, see if he's got any solutions, and could give a timeline that we could accomplish this by.
Yeah, and shout out to Jay Hayes for giving me this lead. He put it in the chat and I snagged it. So this is my.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you guys bringing this stuff to the call, right? This is the juice that we are looking for. And everybody got to chime in on this and drop some knowledge. So that was pretty cool. We've got 7 left. Kate, I don't know what you had on the docket. Is it something that you can do in 7 minutes or?
Absolutely.
All right. What do you got?
So I was actually going to bring back our tale of woe from last week, where I had a title issue that ended up in land court, and then we ended up having to terminate the deal. So the saga continues with that one. But specifically within that, I wanted to talk about termination. So in my scenario, I don't know if any of you remember, I'll do a quick rehash of it from last week. We had a seller who was selling a property that was in a trust, and the original trustee was incapacitated, and the successor trustee was able to sign their appointment, but the trustee who was leaving, the original trustee, could not sign their resignation because they lacked capacity. With that being said, the property was already in land court, which means land court needs to approve the resignation of that original trustee, and they just take their time. There's no way to push them any faster than they're going to go. So we have everything going forward, waiting on everything to go. Kind of got contentious between the buyers and sellers, and so the buyers decided they wanted to terminate. So we sent in our termination, and that is where I left you guys last week, and we had talked a little bit about capacity and trusts. So we actually had the seller reject the termination, which we were very surprised about, because they had told us that if we didn't do what they wanted, they were just going to pull it and put it back on the market for spring, and it was going to be great. They were going to make more money. How dare we ask them for anything? So they refused and denied our termination, and they said they wanted to enact their right of 30 days within the purchase and sale. So how many of you know that in the Massachusetts MAR form for the purchase and sale, there is an automatic 30-day extension to cure title? Anyone? I'm sure some people have run into it before. A lot of people aren't aware that that is a thing. It basically gives the sellers an automatic 30-day extension to get everything in the ball rolling, clear any title issues that come up, make sure the property is now insurable through title insurance. And within that 30 days, the only reason they can be removed and not get that 30-day grant is if the buyers are going to be put under undue hardship. So if within those 30 days and that automatic extension is going to be if their commitment expires, or if their rate lock expires, or the terms are going to be changed materially and adversely within those 30 days, in which case the day before that expiration, so the day before the rate lock expires or the day before an extension expires, parties need to have agreed, are we going to move forward, and what are we going to move forward with? Are we getting a credit? Are the buyers just accepting that they're going to pay these fees? That's what we're looking at there. So they enacted their 30-day right, said they wanted to extend. Now, this one was tough because we were already closing early. Our buyers were motivated. They had, they're ready to go. They had their mortgage commitment. They wanted to close about 2 weeks prior to the original date within the purchase and sale. So when the termination went over, by the original, moved up closing date, we had met the 30 days and we were fine. But by the actual date that was in the purchase and sale agreement that we had signed off on, they still have another week and a half. And now they've found another house. They want to go buy this place. They're shocked that the seller didn't want to sign the termination. And now they can't go under contract, because if they end up getting their title, if land court says the title is good, now they're on the hook for 2 houses. So I'm not willing to let them move forward and get involved in another house until I have a termination from the seller. So I had to reach out to the seller's attorney, and I had to draft one of those really long legal letters that I hate doing, explaining why this is now materially and adversely affecting my client. show anything from the rate lock. I had to get information from the lender on their letterhead saying that the rate lock had expired. They were either going to release the rate or what the cost was. We had to show all the reasons that it now materially and adversely affects our borrower. Get those sent over. And then from there, now the seller has reviewed it. The seller attorney is like, no, I see what you're saying. I get it. You know, I'll talk to my client. And now really it's up to him. He can decide if he wants to maintain that 30-day extension and go forward with it, which means he's going to drag my clients through and possibly lose out on other offers they want to put in on their house or a new house. And if he does that and we end up in court because of it, he's got to decide, you know, is it worth it for him if he's decided that my clients are not materially and adversely affected enough to cancel that 30-day. So we just got notification very late last night that they did sign, and so they are out. So now the buyers can now put an offer in on the new house. But that's the type of thing that you need to be aware of. If you're going to be putting in an extension for a title, better be sure that those sellers, they're going to know what that closing date was and when that 30-day ends. And so if you send over a termination, in this instance, we thought he was going to terminate anyway because he told us he was going to terminate the deal. So we had no reason to know, but always know what your dates are, because if we run into this, now we're going to have to prove that there's, you know, materially and adversely affecting our clients in order to get them out of the deal. And we don't want to lock anyone down. And when you send a termination and it gets, you know, they say no to it, it usually means it's going to get a little contentious.
There's a
So I
lot
did
there.
have a lot
yeah.
more.
There's a lot there.
I
There's
have a lot more to go into about like terminations in general and contingencies, but we'll save that for another day, and we'll just kind of touch on that horrible tale of woe from my clients.
That's awesome stuff, though. That's great to know. Thanks, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think
And we
Kate,
can, like I say, we can talk next week more about, you know, other ways that you can terminate out of the purchase and sale and ways that you can get around those. We'll look at all those like contingencies and things like that. We can do that next week.
yeah, extensions, you know, I think are a big one. You know, I always hear, well, you know, a reasonable extension has to be granted in real estate, and that there's some case law that kind of supports that. So let's, you know, I think that would be a great topic for next week.
Sure.
Awesome. Anybody have any just follow-up questions on the situation that Kate put on the table? Cool. All right.
See, I'm just that good a teacher.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure they know everything. They know it all. All right, let's take a look at what we have for additional training opportunities today. Let's see. We've got the new agent starter series. We've got the journey to elite. We've got building community locally and digitally, and we've got the Real Agents Society. So a few different opportunities for you guys to go out there and increase your skills. Hopefully you got a little something out of today's show. So come back tomorrow with some energy. Come back tomorrow with your unique situation so we can discuss them right here. Go have a kick-ass Thursday, and we'll do it again one more time tomorrow. Take care, you guys.
Thanks, Steve.